What is going on, YouTube? It's your boy Paul Maharry, joined alongside Blayne Gilmer. If you can see, he looks a little bit different than Trent, and that is because he is a different person. But he is on the UGASports staff. We've brought him over, along with Ben Bachman and several others that you'll be hearing from later on. But to start it all off, guys, this is going to be by far the craziest show we've had because there's so much to talk about. But I want to introduce Blayne first and let him introduce himself. He knows himself better than I do or anybody else in the world would. Blayne, who are you, my man? Who are you?
Absolutely. I'm a former teacher and football coach that got into the business world, help run a manufacturer's rep in Gainesville, Georgia. But then also, man, I started covering sports, started out covering local high school sports, and then got an opportunity to start covering Georgia through a couple of outlets and have been working with Bulldog Illustrated over there for a while. And then got in contact with Roddy. He seemed to like the content I was putting out. I really enjoy just everything that UGASports has been doing for a long, long time, and thrilled to have the opportunity to be over there here working with you guys.
And Blayne, yeah, man, we're extremely blessed to have you. If you guys haven't already checked out Blayne's stuff over on the UGAsports.com, the vault, where we hold all of our recruiting information, he's doing an excellent job already. He's pulling his weight. Hopefully, he's not just doing that just so Roddy will give him a paycheck, then he leaves. I don't think so, Blayne. I don't think that's the case, man. But, man, he's bringing some great month. Yeah, just 1 month of really good content, and then you slide on by. But, no, man, you're crushing it already. And this is going to be, like I said, folks, probably the craziest call-in show. I need to go ahead and pull up there we go. I've got Skype pulled up just in case some of you guys want to talk about it. But I want to get right into it, Blayne, because the chatter, the word on the street, and for the folks watching at home, Georgia is lacking at cornerback. We've talked about that on several shows. The inexperience at corner with Tyson Campbell going in the second round, Eric Stokes going in the first round, Richard LeCount out, into the draft as well. They have one returning defensive back that started, majority of last year. Darian Kendrick is a name that popped up immediately when he decided to enter into the portal. Had to run in with the law, and kind of put all that to bed for right now. But Blayne, what are you hearing on this in terms of cornerback? Because this kid, we're talking about a five-star kid, a kid at Clemson that was all ACC, knocked it out of the park. When Trent and I talked about this, and we've talked about this several times, I've talked to Jason Budd about it on the show. I've talked to numerous folks. This is the type of guy Kirby was looking for all along. He's waited, and Kendrick, he's still out there.
He's still out there. All indications were early on, a long time ago, before the stuff got going on with the charges and things like that Kendrick would end up at Georgia. Obviously, there's still high speculation out there. I don't want to put the cart before the horse on anything in terms of that, but I do think Georgia is well positioned, providing that everything legally is worked out. Of course, there are implications and decision making that go beyond even the head of Kirby Smart and those type of situations. That goes all the way up to Jared Moorhead up there. So there's a lot of decisions that have to be made on things like that. But there's absolutely no doubt that adding someone with the pedigree, with the experience that Darren Kendrick has at corner, if Georgia is able to do so, that would drastically change not only that September 4th clash with his former team, if that to be the case with Clemson, but also just going forward. But don't want anybody to be mistaken about the talent level that Georgia has at corner. They have unbelievable talent at corner. It's just you can't substitute, you can't buy that experience, those game reps and those big time scenarios. But Keely Ringo, Nyland Green, Jalen Kimber, and I think people are sleeping a little bit on Kamari Lassiter. Kamari Lassiter, he just wasn't an early enrollee. He's going to be enrolled in the summer. But this is a young man that is as physically gifted and as much of a playmaker as anybody on the roster. He's that kind of a physical specimen. So Kamari Lassiter could end up making an impact too, if nothing else, on a special team type level. And then of course you got Amir speed. Who's
Yeah, I
been
was gonna
there,
add. I was gonna add that
seems
in
like
there.
10
Yeah.
years.
Right. Right. Right.
Seems like he's been there forever. So
Yeah, Amir Speed, like you said, looked really good in the spring game. You can't teach length. You can't teach 6'3" at corner. I don't think any of us thought that he would, eventually stay. I mean, you see a kid coming in like that at 6'3", and you're like, "There's no way." I mean, but he stayed. He stayed around. And could potentially see the field in a big way for Georgia facing Clemson. But like you said, we don't want to put the cart before the horse. All those, what is it? The rest of those sayings, I don't know. You're from up a little bit north, Georgia area, Blayne. I'm sure you've got all those in a bag. But for me, you add a guy like that, and then the next guy we're going to talk about, who I think instead of, Kendrick still has some legal issues to work out, and, hopefully he gets those resolved. If those do get resolved, I think that he ends up in Athens. I think that's what everybody thinks. But, like you said, this is not just a football thing. This is when Darian Kendrick comes to your program, it's going to be on national headlines. And the national headline will be, or would have been, well, he just got a gun charge. You're bringing this kid into the program. How does that look? If the charges get dropped, yes, it will. It's not like it's not. It's not like one of those things, Blayne, where it's just going to be like, oh, well, we all forgot about that, and this kid's golden. It's still going to be talked about, and it's definitely going to be talked about by, Florida Gator fans and Tennessee fans and the likes, right? I mean, it's not just going to go away. But the good thing is the legality of it could go away. And that is what I think George is waiting on to pull the trigger there. But, moving on to the next guy, and I want to say hey to our guys over on YouTube. Barry Anderson coming in saying, is this chatter about Eric Gilbert coming to Athens have any truth to it? ? Does he have the grades to be eligible this year? ? So we'll get to that. Barry Anderson also says Branson, quote, Nick Chubb, end quote, Robinson will be in Athens June 4th. This kid is incredible. We're going to talk about that. Barry, you're beating us all of our topics, man. We got to give the people what they want, Barry, but you're on top of it, bro. Trent says, looking good, boys. Trent, sorry you weren't able to be with us, man. Hope everything's well on the home front. Barry says Ringo will start, and then James Schuler says the defense will be fine and get better as the season goes. It's the offense that will carry the Dogs this season, and that's the perfect segue into the next topic, Blayne. Eric, is it? First off,
Eric is how I've been.
Are you sure?
I've been corrected multiple times that it needs to be Eric Gilbert. Also, I think the young man has changed the pronunciation of his name multiple times.
I was going to say, because I remember covering him when he was at Marietta, and it was Eric. Like, I'm almost positive it was Eric Gilbert. So say it one more time for me so I don't get it wrong.
The way that I've been told recently that it needs to be said is Eric, but we'll see.
So we're doing like a hard, like a.
Let's just call him Gilbert.
Gilbert. There we go. A. Gilbert. Eric Gilbert to UGA. You see it on the topics under there. There's a reason we have it there. Roddy made a pretty big prediction over on UGASports.com, the dog vent, which just so happens to be where all the other folks that write about this business seem to have a username as well. And this rumor took off. It wasn't so much a rumor, but Roddy put his foot down and said that he thinks Eric Gilbert, I think I said it wrong. I don't know. I don't know, man. I think he said that Gilbert should be in Athens on June 1st. A lot of people were like, whoa, hold on a second. We've got a ton of kids coming in June 1st. Does this mean he's just coming for a visit? And then Roddy put in a comment later on. He was like, nah, man, I think he's here to stay. Before I get to your opinion on this, Blayne, I just want to talk about like futures. So in Las Vegas, you know how you can bet on futures, right? You can do it with baseball, college basketball, every sport. You can bet on futures. If the Dogs were to land Kendrick and Gilbert, I would have to think that their future is going to drop significantly. I think they're like plus, I don't know. I could look it up while you're talking, and I will.
Plus 700.
Plus 7. So it's plus 700 right now.
Yeah.
I would think that's going to drop, right?
Oh, I think it would be halved. I mean,
yeah.
I think
that's where I'm at too.
Yeah. Under.
Right.
So if you're someone that is inclined to do so, I would jump all over it right now.
Yeah. Well, getting's good.
Even everything falls apart and Gilbert ended up not coming, even if something just totally went haywire, still the chance of if you're a guy that does that kind of stuff, that does some betting or something like that, you still got some good odds if that happens. But I think whether we're prognosticating whether or not, all I can say is if Arik Gilbert does join Arik,
Right,
whatever.
right,
I'm
right.
having
Yeah.
a hard time with this. If
Yeah,
Gilbert,
yeah.
if Gilbert does join the Georgia Bulldogs, undoubtedly the offense goes to another level potential wise, because you add, now you have three abnormal human beings out there on the field in terms of that you could potentially put out on the field at the same time with Darnell Washington, Brock Bowers, and then Gilbert. I mean, people don't understand how special Brock Bowers is. Brock
See,
Bowers,
see, see, see. I don't know. I had this conversation with Trent on the last show. I think a lot of people are hyping Bowers, and I'll be the first one to say if I'm wrong. I'll be the first one to say I'm wrong. I'm not there yet. Try to convince me. You can. I'm just saying I'm not there yet.
this is a young man who has played everything in on the football field, from quarterback to running back to receiver to tight end to linebacker to safety when he was out in Napa, California. And Brock Bowers is the type of kid that is, he handled the recruiting process with as much grace and as much dignity and as much, I mean, he's raised very well, very, the mindset of Brock Bowers is what also makes him dangerous, on top of the fact that he is 6'5", 230 pounds or more right
Yeah,
now, I
he's
think,
probably
and
more. Yeah.
is able to run like a deer and just has unbelievable hands. Oh, and by the way, what makes him even more dangerous is you're going to line him up. You're going to line him up beside LeBron James in football uniform and Darnell Washington. That's exactly what you have. So
Yeah.
you could go 12 personnel. That is, if Gilbert is used as a wide receiver, you could go 12 personnel, 13 personnel if Gilbert's a tight end, whatever. And so if you're a defensive coordinator and you're looking out there and you say, "What's the personnel?" and they're going to say, "We don't know," because
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
got three guys who used to be tight ends or was a tight end. Is he a receiver now? Who knows? You can single up, darn it. Think about this, Paul. You could single up Washington out wide on one side, Gilbert on the other, put Bowers as the tight end, or any combination of the three. And defensive coordinators are just going to have a time on their hands trying to figure that out. So Todd Monken, if that comes to fruition, is going to have just a field day and scheming up these defenses.
What is your thought though? Like you said, I really like how you brought the personnel up there, and like you said when the show came on, you used to be a coach at the high school ranks. Trent says Brock Bowers is a stud. Wake up, Paul. Trent, go back to sleep. I don't know. But you're on the train with Blayne. I don't know. I might be on the wrong side of this train. I hope I am, for Georgia's sake.
They get the Lane train out of Ole Miss. We call it the Blayne train here.
The Blayne train, yeah. I like that. I might be on the wrong path. I don't know. I want to see it. I'm like what state is it? The Show Me State? I don't even know.
Missouri.
Missouri, right? Yeah, state. Yeah. I'm like Missouri right now. Show me. But with Gilbert, I think what's kind of sold him, and let's not forget, Blayne, that Gilbert was committed to Florida after the whole LSU debacle, and then decommitted from Florida and said, look, I'm not playing any more games, guys. I'm just going to show up on a school's campus, right? And we've seen that before. We've seen that with a few prospects, and it never seems to go. That always seems to be like the way to say, hey, I'm not going to be in the spotlight anymore, but it seems to be like the spotlight's on them even more. Zach Evans comes to mind. I know he said that a time or two. I'm just going to show up on a campus. It ended up being, what campus can I show up on? But anyways, we'll get, that's off topic. But
as complicated as the Gilbert situation, it does not even scratch the surface of Zach Evans. So
right.
Let's just leave that Zach Evans thing out, because that is a whole. We could do three shows for 4 hours.
Yeah, we definitely could. I'm trying to get Blayne back here. Looks like his connections. There he goes. There's Blayne. I think your connection went a little in and out right there, Blayne. Can you hear me?
Crazy. What happened was that? Yeah, I got you. Hey, you got me, Paul?
Yeah, I got you. Okay, sounds like you're back to me. Yeah, you're back there. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry,
like you
sorry
like.
about that, man.
No, you're good. What he was saying though was we're not comparing these two to Zach Evans' recruitment. That was a crazy recruitment. But as a former high school coach, and you guys run defenses just like college defenses. How would you, or if you're on the offensive side of the ball, are you really trying to put Eric Gilbert at wide receiver? Like, is that, I think that's the selling point that kind of eventually, if this all goes through, right, and we're recording this prior to the big Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend, and we could be behind the news by the time you listen to it. Hopefully right now live, we're giving you the best up-to-date information we can. I think that's what's the selling point, though, is the ability to play wide receiver, no?
And to be an athlete. I mean, just to use the overall athleticism, because outside of George Pickens, who obviously will not be playing at least for the first good part of this year, there is a chance now. It sounded like he's crushed in his rehab and could be able to come back for the Georgia Bulldogs. However, I would argue outside of George Pickens, there's not a pass receiving athlete in the SEC like Gilbert. I mean, and being able to single him up on the outside with a corner, just unbelievable. I mean, just unbelievable that they would have that opportunity. So, or you put him on a safety, that's even more laughable. You get him matched up on a safety who probably isn't able to run with Gilbert, and definitely can't body him up unless you're talking about some kind of monster to use him more at the receiver type position, which I think then he could also sneak in and do some stuff with his hand in the ground at tight end. There's so many options, and that's what I'm saying. It's going to make so hard on defensive coordinators. The thing that gives me joy is thinking how Todd Grantham, who already seems to have trouble enough stopping Georgia offenses, how that would play with Todd Grantham when that comes around. Who I've talked to some people on my own podcast, Recruiting Every Second. I talked to a guy that does Gator football, and the one thing that blew Florida fans' mind was that Todd Grantham got retained this year by Dan Mullins.
Right.
This could even be another, I'm sure Todd Grantham and other defensive coordinators around are thinking, oh man, if Georgia gets Eric Gilbert, I mean,
seems like
who knows what's going to happen in terms of that and on the production level.
Right. And, like we said, guys, we opened up the show. It seems like Blaine's network bandwidth's a little bit low, so his camera's quality's gone out just a little bit, but we'll work with it. We can still hear him just fine. The big thing, though, guys, is Kirby is wanting to win now. I mean, I don't think there's any speculation on that. He brought in all of these guys on the team are his guys, and he's brought them in. He's built them up. JT Daniels, he has a legit quarterback this year, which we saw numerous times last year make some throws that there hasn't been a quarterback make those throws at UGA in a very long time. Yeah, if you're able to add Darian Kendrick and Eric Gilbert like we thought and we think is going to happen, Georgia, if you look at it just as an overall whole, Blayne, before we get to this June visitor list, and I want to wrap up these Kendrick and Gilbert talks, as an overall whole, if you're able to add Kendrick and you're able to add Gilbert, where is the weakness? That's my thing. Where is the weakness? Now, of course, like you said, you would love to have George Pickens on the field. And who knows, maybe these two recent, if you're able to add Kendrick and Gilbert, maybe these two guys show Pickens, hey man, if I really bust my butt in rehab, I can get back by this game. We're at X and O, we're 7-0, we're 9-0, we're 10-0, and he comes back and he's able to help you through that final push. Where's the weakness on this team if you're able to add these two guys, Blayne?
Hello, Paul, you there?
Yeah, Blayne, can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost you there for a second. I'm so sorry, man. Something's going on with the internet over here.
Man, you're up in the sticks up there, man. It's all right, man. But no, my question was to you, Blayne, was where's the weakness on this team if you're able to add Kendrick and Gilbert? I don't see where the weakness is now.
I just think that offensive line continuity is going to be the biggest part, finding out who are the five and how well do they work together. And, can you get a consistent matchup? Does a guy like a Mims, who probably has more talent than anybody on the roster in terms of just raw talent and size and ability, does he overtake it at left tackle? What happens then with, does Warren McClendon move over to right tackle to Jamari Sawyer?
Man, it seems like we're having a little bit of issues with Blayne's connection, guys.
Up inside. I mean, there's so many of the biggest concern, because you would have. Can you hear?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. There we go. You're good. You're good.
Okay. So in terms of that, I think then you would have fortified, the safety issue with having Turnage, and it comes there presumably to be the starting star, and then you would have Darren Kendrick come in at corner if that were to happen. Keely Ringo, Jalen Kimber, and Nyland Green all there together. So I think that would, definitely answer all those questions defensively. And then the offensive line becomes the big deal. Like I said, how does it play out? Who ends up playing? And can you stay healthy up front?
No, I definitely agree with you on the offensive line. We've talked about it numerous times throughout the show, Blayne, is where the five that started for Georgia's first team in front of JT Daniels on G-Day, I don't think is going to be the five that you see start against Clemson, and I definitely don't think it's going to be the five that you see starting against Georgia Tech. And so, yes, you fill in a huge void with Gilbert, who I think has dropped some weight. I really think that Georgia wants him to play that wide receiver position if he is in Athens. You add Kendrick, you lock down that corner where you have a lockdown corner that can guard anybody's number one in the nation. And then you have your pick at the other corner position, whether it be speed, Kimber, Ringo. Maybe you don't have to push Ringo as hard, Blayne, to get in there right away coming off of those injuries. I know they didn't push him hard in the spring. Excuse me. They didn't push him hard in the spring, so maybe you're able to give him a couple. You're not just throwing him into the fire. You could throw Kimber in there if you have to. I think that this adds a ton of depth. We didn't even talk about it, Blayne, because it seems like such old news now, but they're adding one of the best safeties in America to their defensive backfield, and Tyke Smith at that nickel star position. Kirby is wanting to win now. I think he knows he has the team. And if guys are going to transfer from your program and play automatically, yeah, I'm going to bring in guys that are going to play automatically here because of this whole waiver for this season. And he's not, and we talked about this for so long on the show, Blayne, before you joined us, and we said, look, Kirby's not done yet. He's not done at defensive back, and he's waited, and if these charges get dropped on Kendrick, it seems like the wait was for the right guy,
Lose you, man. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like I said, if you lost me there for a second, guys, I so apologize. I don't know what's going on with the internet. Paul, can you hear me now? Good.
Yeah, I can hear you. Your camera is a little tinier than normal. It says your bandwidth is low, but we can make it work. We've got folks.
I don't know what's going on with that.
It's all good. Nobody in the chat has said you're doing a terrible job or anything like that we need to fire you. So I think you're okay for right now, Blayne.
I'll tell you what. I'm just going to turn my camera off and let my picture of my beautiful family be up there.
There we go.
Talk. How about that?
There we go. That's all right. A good-looking family, by the way, there, Blayne.
Oh, I appreciate it. Got some boys there that are getting ready to put, hopefully play football in a couple years themselves there. But no, I agree with you. That's a huge pickup in terms of what Jamil Adai has been able to do there. The familiarity with Tyke Smith, that will be huge just to be able to transfer that over. And, him come in right away, a guy who's a very sure tackler in space, someone that is able to just provide, again, experience. Not that Chris Smith gained valuable experience at the end of last year, and you also had, Lewis Seen, who is a monster back there. Seen, I think, knocked out several of Kyle Pitts' teeth in that Florida game.
Boy.
not that that's the goal to do that, but you saw some chiclets fly there. I'm saying it was a crazy hit. Not that, like I said, not that you're trying to go out and do that, but I'm just saying the physical presence that he brings. He's definitely kind of that captain type role. I think somebody in our chat, Barry once again said that Scene will be the captain on our defense. No doubt. I think he kind of fills that void for Richard LeCount there. And then, of course, you've got guys like Latavius Brini, who played really well in the Cincinnati game, had his best career game in that bowl game, I believe. And even a senior guy like William Poole, who's a backup there. But in terms of Tyke Smith, it's just huge. Dan Jackson and David Daniel were going to be having to be counted on to play before Tyke Smith. Now maybe guys don't have to play as much as they would, but you got a guy like Dan Jackson, who's a 4'4", 4'5" kid, who's a former walk-on. He actually played here where I live at North Hall High School.
Is he doing all right?
I got the ball.
Blaine, I've asked a couple times because when he got ran over by Washington in that spring game, I've told numerous people on the show that I would have quit football if it was me. Is he doing all right? He's from your hometown, right? Is he okay?
Dan is just fine.
Great.
I'm telling you, they don't come much tougher than Dan Jackson. That's one reason that I think Kirby Smart and Dan Lanning talk so highly of Dan Jackson, is because he's tough as nails and absolutely, he can run. I mean, I'm telling you, he's a legit 4-5 guy. He can really run, and he's just not as big as a lot of D1 safeties. He got some size to overcome things like that, but he's the type of guy that if he had to go in and play, obviously they trust him. He knows the defense, so he's able to contribute. But no doubt that Tyke Smith keeps you from having to shuffle the chairs on the deck, so to speak, so much.
Hey, Blaine.
Yes, sir.
Ben Choppy Bachman wants to call in. Should we let him do it?
You can let him do it. I don't know if my bandwidth can take anybody else coming in. I'm going to turn my video back on,
Okay, let me see if I can get you back on video here. There we go. I had turned you off there, so you didn't have to run too much. If it gets to be too choppy, you can just turn Zoom off, and we can go to a single screen, and that might help your bandwidth out there. I'm asking him what his number is, so I know what number area code he's calling from. So guys, if you aren't aware, which most of you guys are, and we appreciate you guys tuning on with us. We've got 75 people in here, Blaine. I think this is a record, man. I think you're bringing all the love from North Hall, man. But we've got a ton of folks watching, and I want to get to your comments while we wait on Ben. And we haven't even got to the June visitor list. I know we've got about 12 more minutes with Blaine. He's going to be doing a big interview with a bunch of guys calling in. And
let's keep that on the down low. Let's keep it a little surprise.
Of course. Yeah, I'm not saying who. I'm just saying he's got a very important Zoom call. He's got to make it 8. So we might have Dave McMahon join us after that, and we might keep going. Oh goodness! Now, hey, you're back, brother. You're back. Your camera's back. You're looking fresh. Mike Jones.
Smaller, I guess. I don't know what's going on with that.
You got all those kids up there running Disney Plus, watching TV while you're trying to do the show. It's probably what it is.
No doubt.
Mike Jones says Blayne was a great pickup, a major upgrade. I don't know about the major upgrade. We all are great here. Unless you're talking about me, then yes, of course, he's a major upgrade. But yeah, he's a great pickup, man. Alex MLD says make Gilbert the X. Then if we get a major injury, look who will be all behind him. You could definitely do that. Let's see. Barry Anderson says Gilbert, great X, especially with Pickens out for a while. I mean, I could see him at X, right? The recent pictures we've seen,
especially in the red zone.
Yeah, man, the recent pictures we've seen, Blaine, of him working out with Terrence Edwards at the TE Wide Receiver Academy, he looks like he's, I don't know, man, 220 maybe. I mean, he looks svelte. I don't know how to really say that word, but he looks svelte.
Yeah, he might look like he's kind of trimmed down a little bit from that 248, that 253, right. Whatever he was at before. I definitely think he's well below that now. I mean, just from what I'm guessing, unless he's literally the most toned up 248 I've ever lined him up at his full-time, position in the red zone, and you go trips away from him.
Yeah.
Now you got George Pickens. Did they leave safety hits? safety help over the top, the backside of trips? And if so, JT Daniels gets to carve them up over there with guys like Kyrus, James Rosemary, Jack Saint, all those guys. Dominic Blaylock, who we haven't even touched on, who's going to be back for Georgia. If everything continues to go well. I mean, there's a ton of options over doing that, and I thought that was some of the most success that Georgia had, especially with Stetson Bennett at quarterback, is when they went 3-by-1 set with George Pickens on the backside. Same thing could happen with Eric Gilbert.
Well, so we got a couple more comments. Blaine, Mike Harvey says, I would love to get Gilbert, but don't think it's going to happen. Mike, just wait till June 1st, big dog. That's all I'm saying, Mike. And I understand you want to be a little not pessimistic. You want to be what's the word? You don't want to get your hopes up. Cautious. Thank you, Blaine. My encyclopedia of thesaurus, dictionary, whatever word. You want to be that way, but just wait. Alex MLD says, right, he's done it twice already. Until he is here, I don't believe it. Speaking about Gilbert, again, just hold on for us, guys. Mac Harding is killing me in the chat, man. He says Brock Bowers is as advertised. First off, you cover UGA, so you know Kirby barely hypes up players that deserve it, and freshmen even less. Yet Kirby has mentioned him multiple times, and he had meaningful plays on G-Day. I know, man. Maybe I just want to be that guy, okay? Let me live, all right? If Brock Bowers is as advertised, I will eat it on the show, Blaine.
As the fans are.
Say what now?
I was saying you're doing the same. You're doing the same thing with Brock Bowers as these fans in here in the chat are doing on Gilbert to Georgia, trying to temper your expectations.
I'm just trying to temper my expectations on Brock Bowers. That's all it is, Blaine. Let me do me. If I'm wrong, trust me, guys. When our call-in shows are after games on Saturday nights, you guys will let me know. I'm sure of it. Let's see here. Let's see. Barry Anderson says, are Gilbert's grades good enough to play this year? Sounds like he didn't have the greatest of times in LSU in terms of academic studies, Blaine, but it did sound like he had a lot of college credits from high school from what we've kind of gathered. Blaine, can you go into the grades at all, or is that still something that we're kind of wading through the waters on? Blaine's network bandwidth is low. He might still. Oh, there he goes.
I don't want to dabble too far into that just because I think. Can you hear me? I'm going to turn my camera off again.
All right, turn it off, brother.
That'll help. But
yep.
In terms of the grades, a lot of that, obviously he's going to be out there at some point with public record, things like that. You'll be able to go up and look stuff up, all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to dabble too far into that in terms of all I will say is there wouldn't be this kind of smoke about him either returning to LSU or coming to Georgia if the grades were not suitable. You know what I'm saying? So if there weren't an opportunity really for him to play and the grades weren't there, then there wouldn't be even remotely the amount of chatter that there is about him being able to play this fall. So
let's see here, Blaine. We've got so that kind of touches on his grades, guys. And like Blaine said, don't want to wade into that. If you do see him on campus at UGA, obviously his grades are there for the NCAA and the SEC's requirements for grades. So, let's take a pause on that. June 1st, like I said, is going to be a big day for Georgia fans, guys. We'll probably have a live reaction at some point throughout the day on June 1st. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening. We haven't even touched on the June visitor list. I think Ben's going to be calling in just a bit, and I might can go over that with him, Blaine, since I know you've got to run. But I want to get through these comments real quick before you go. Jason Stewart says, all right, boys, I'm late. What's the rundown? Gilbert is happening? Do we?
You got to subscribe.
Yeah.
To UGASports.com and go to the vault, and you will see what's happening.
Hey, Blaine, you're catching on quick, brother. You're catching on quick. Blaine. Even though Blaine's
guys.
connection,
why would you put
Go ahead,
it's
Blaine.
Like wrestling, like pro wrestling, I'm sure to get criticized Eric Bischoff all the time for putting pay-per-view matches on Nitro back in the day. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what are you gonna do here? You gotta leave that for Starcade, for all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So all that's in the vault.
Yeah, man, and all that is in the vault, guys. And a lot of you guys that are watching are members. You know the deal. But June 1st, let's just say June 1st should be a really, really good day for the Dogs. Before I let you go, Blaine, who are you looking forward to the most stepping on Georgia's campus in terms of covering them if they were to commit to Georgia the next 4 years? Who are the guys that out of this whole commitment list that's going to be in town, this whole unofficial list that's going to be in town, this whole official list that's going to be in town, it seems like to me, and this is 16 months of Kirby Smart not being able to host kids on campus, that he's invited every prospect that you can possibly think of, 2022, 2023, some 2024s, 2022, 2023. It just seems like every kid that is of any stature in the college football world, Blayne, is going to be in Athens and sometime in June. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm sure you can do this without me putting you on the spot. Who are 3 to 5 kids that are coming to Athens that Georgia fans would love to see wear the red and black when it's all said and done?
Kamari Wilson, number one. Kamari Wilson is, I think, the most important player that remains out there, because the future of that safety position back there, you got Lewis Seen, who, if he has a great year, he could go pro.
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah.
You've got Chris Smith, William Poole, who's a senior.
Boom. Both gone. And I think there you go.
Davis Brini, senior. So that fortifies your safety position going forward. So that's one. Oscar Delp, I think is want that Todd Hartley, he focuses on one tight end a year, it seems, and landing huge guys. Oscar Delp is one. Branson Robinson is another one that, of course, everybody's talking about. I think the one that I would like to see the most, just because I've gotten to know him, a little bit as talking to him, Tyler Booker is one of the most thoughtful and insightful recruits I've ever talked to in terms of understanding his future, understanding that he is looking for. That's going to be a real battle with Florida and with Alabama.
Yeah.
But, I think Georgia's got – lastly, Travis Shaw. I think Bear Alexander it's going to be a fight to keep Bear Alexander from going to Texas A&M, somewhere like that, back out close to home. I think his dad's here. That'll help kind of keep him here, maybe. But as a commit to the University of Georgia, but it's going to be tough. And bringing in a guy like Travis Shaw would be somebody that would absolutely make this class over the top for Georgia.
So there you guys have it. Sterling Russell says, seriously, get the tech together if you're going to plan a show. Sterling, let us handle that, big dog. You handle commenting on the videos. We're trying to get it together. It's our first time with Blayne this week. It's internet, bro. Chill. Blayne, I know you got to run, man. Dave McMahon, if you're out there, go ahead and give me a call. Let's get some stats up. Blayne, thank you for coming on, man. Can't wait to have you on throughout the rest of the year. It's going to be a crazy June. Blayne, if you guys aren't following Blayne on Twitter, Blayne, what is your Twitter?
At BGilmer18.
BGilmer18, guys. So it's BGILMER18. Go give him a follow on Twitter, and then also follow him on the UGA Sports, the Vault, where all the recruiting happens. And Blayne, we appreciate you, man. Have a good rest of your evening, brother.
Appreciate you. Sorry about the technical issues, guys.
Hey, man, we'll get it all fixed up, Blayne. No worries, brother. Have a good one.
Dude, see you.
See ya. Guys, if you do not know, that is Blayne Gilmer. Big time in the UGA recruiting world, and he is now with us over at UGAsports.com. So let me go ahead and host another meeting here so Dave McMahon can give us a call. Let's see. All right, guys. Dave McMahon is going to give us a call here in just a second. And like we said throughout this whole thing, I'm not getting butthurt, Sterling. No big deal, dude. Nobody's getting butthurt, man. We did prep before the show. You saw we had the show going the whole time, and it just happened to be that his internet crashed out. It's not a big deal, dude. Take a chill pill, my brother. We're in here having fun talking dogs. Dave McMahon, are you there, my brother?
I am there. How are you, Paul?
I'm doing well, Dave. I'm doing well. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm glad you got Blayne on the show. I mean, obviously it was a little bit bumpy here and there, but I mean, he gave great info, and I'm glad he's part of the team.
Yeah, I am too. I think he's a huge asset to us over at UGASports.com, just like you are, being the stat man that you are.
Wow.
Were you out at a golf outing this week, or no?
No, I haven't. I have not been to. Well, I actually played a little bit golf for the first time in forever this week. I guess how you call me, like, I mean, I was like a dual threat athlete. I mean, people think of like people like Herschel Walker, Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders as two sport athletes. I did a little bit of golf and a little bit of fishing this week, so I don't know if that counts. But
I don't know,
something.
Dave. I don't know. We'll give it to you. We'll give it to you if you want it.
Okay.
If you want that dual sport tag next to your name, we can make it happen for golf and fish. I don't know. What you got for us in terms of stats this week, man?
Okay, well, I want to first start off with big congratulations to. I mean, hopefully the thing. I mean, according to the Dogs end, there are people that do care about this sport, but I want to give a big shout out and congrats to the softball team.
Yeah.
Making their fifth. They're going to be making their fifth College World Series appearance starting next week at Oklahoma City, where they always have the College World Series at. I mean, fifth is not bad. I mean, especially I did not think. I mean. They were 21-3 early this year, and they lost 18 of their last 26 games heading into the NCAA tournament. So I'm like, if you lose 18 of 26, you're not going to make a run. But guess what? They made a run, and they dominated. They outscored their opponents, I think, 32-12 in the regionals and super regionals. So that's not too bad. The crazy stat I saw with them is that their team batting average was 265 this year. Last year was 335, so it's like a big old 70-point swing right there. But 265, that was their lowest since 2001. You know what happened in 2002 with Georgia softball? They hired Luke Harris-Champer. So that's a big. So I mean, this is the lowest batting average a team has ever had under Lou. And guess what? They made the College World Series, so that's all that matters. And good luck to those girls. Switching from softball to baseball. Baseball, they're waiting to see whether they get selected into college to the NCAA regionals, and hopefully they will make it too. They're 31-25. They've lost 7 out of 10 series, but they never got swept in any of those SEC series. So there's a good possibility they still could make it. Just
what's your thoughts on Dave? What's your thoughts on them making it? Give me a stat.
I think there'll be a 4 seed somewhere. They have defeated 5 teams that were either number 1 at the time or were once number 1. Not 5 times. 5 times, not 5 different teams. 4 different teams, 5 times total. They beat Vanderbilt twice, which not many people could say that at all. But right now, like you said, D1Baseball.com has them as the first one's out. Baseball America also has the first one's out. But Perfect Game, CollegeBaseball.com has them making the regional at Georgia Tech. They're 4 seed at, so they have them playing at Georgia Tech. And if anyone remembers 2004, back in the day, in the Super Regional, Georgia defeated Georgia Tech, and by coming back in the 8th inning in that Super Regional Game 2 game, and it was a pretty big, fun game for all the Georgia fans back in 2004. I want to also do a quick shout out to golf. Right now, I don't know how many people are paying attention, but I am constantly looking right now at the Division I men's leaderboard in golf right now. Georgia is tied for 15th in the NCAA championships. Only the top 15 move on, so they need to. I don't know how the tiebreaker works exactly in men's golf right now, but they need a little bit of luck. They need Florida to start getting some bogeys out there and moving down. But right now they are in tied for 15th, and only the top 15 move on. In the pro circuit, Eric Compton. I don't know if you know who Eric Compton is.
Is he wasn't he like in a band?
No, Eric Compton. Well, you're thinking of Straight Outta Compton. That's what I think you might be thinking of that.
Yeah.
Eric Compton was a Georgia Bulldog back in early 2000s. I think 2002, 2001, on one of Coach Hack's earlier teams. Eric Compton also had 2 heart surgeries, 2 heart transplants in his lifetime. He had one at the age of 12 in 1992, and another one in 2008. And then, so it's a great story right there.
2 heart transplants? Dave, we can't just skip over 2 heart transplants.
I know.
2 new hearts?
Yes.
So he's been. So my man's on heart number 3 right now.
Yeah.
That's insane. Wow.
2014, he was the U.S. Open runner-up. So he had a pretty decent pro career.
Yeah.
He has not made a cut in the pros since 2016. He was constantly in the top 10 all weekend and finished tied for 20th this week. So hopefully he can make a little comeback on the PGA Tour, because I mean I'm a big fan of his, and hopefully he will
I'm a big fan of anybody that
continue some
survived
good golf
2
play.
heart transplants. I
No
mean,
doubt. Look up Eric Compton and see some good stuff about him.
wow.
Now some of the stuff that a lot of your viewers and listeners want to hear, and
What you got?
you have it as your two top topics for tonight, even though my name's nowhere on that list at all.
Dave.
June Visitor is on there, but not me. That's okay. But yeah, Kendrick and Gilbert. I'm not going to say Eric or Eric. I'm not sure which one it is, so I don't want to offend him.
Yeah.
But I'll say Kendrick and Gilbert.
There you go.
We'll start with Kendrick. Obviously, Kendrick had I don't know if people paid attention, but he had a nice little fumble return for a touchdown this year in 2020 against Virginia Tech, and he had the year before he had a interception return for against FSU. So he had a fumble return touchdown and an interception return touchdown. In the last 2 seasons, he's the only player on Clemson's defense to have more than 1 touchdown. So hopefully he knows how to do certain things once he gets the ball. So I'm excited about that. And people say, "Oh, only 1 interception," sort of like when those years that Stokes Stokes didn't have an interception until this past season. So I mean,
Right, yeah.
it turned out okay.
Right.
The reason why no one threw to him. No
Right.
one threw on that side. Same thing with Champion. No one threw to that side. That's why his interceptions were down. So hopefully, if Georgia is able to get Kendrick, they'll be the same exact way. And then finally on Gilbert, he had 35 receptions last year. 24 of those 35 were either for a first down or a touchdown. So almost 2 out of every 3 went for a big play for Georgia. For LSU. 11 of those 24, the plays were on 3rd and 4th down. So anytime there's a crisis situation, he is your man to throw it to. So that's big things there. When people say, well, LSU always throws it to tight ends. Those 35 receptions, that was the second most receptions by an LSU tight end in the history. And the only time that more people player at LSU had more receptions as a tight end was the year before that when Thaddeus Moss got that. But that was the season 2019 where LSU had 1 million receptions.
Right, yeah,
so,
they had 1 million yards, yeah.
Exactly. So take away that year, that's the most most production by an LSU tight end ever. So I mean, who knows how he'll, like you said during the show today, he may be lined up as a tight end, maybe as a wide receiver, maybe some kind of combination of both. But I'm hoping that both Kendrick and Gilbert eventually become dogs, and it'll be a very big time weapons for Georgia in the near future. So that's what I'm hoping for. And so far, if you're wondering, Paul is still leading on the moving up to first class on my trip so far. In case people are making bets on that.
There we go. Yeah, if you guys are making bets on I don't know if you guys know, we're taking a UGASports.com trip to Vegas. It's going to be crazy. I don't know if we're going to be live blogging it. I don't think so. We might have some live.
No, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So, guys, we're heading out there, Roddy and the gang, and we hopefully will have some content for you. But, Dave, until next time, my man, as always, we appreciate you as being an integral part of the show with your stats. And where are you headed this week? Anywhere cool?
I am not. I'm just doing some extra research for a couple of companies, including UGASports.com. I'm trying to make some calls for some big time, not necessarily guests, but big time interviews I have and coming down the line that I want to help out with some current and former dogs down the road.
There we go, guys. Dave McMahon, appreciate you as always, my man. I hope you do have a good rest of your week, sir.
All right.
See you, man. All right, guys, that was Dave. And like I said, we're going to actually have Ben Choppy Bachman. If you guys don't know who Ben is, if you're a regular on UGAsports.com, you've got to know who Choppy is. And Choppy19 was his username over on the site. Roddy has now brought him on to be a part of the good guys, have his name out there in front of his work. He's really connected, really well connected with the recruits. We're going to talk to him a little bit about recruiting before we wrap up the show. Guys, we've got some comments coming in. Sterling Russell says, much love, all good. Much love to you, Sterling. Appreciate you hollering at us about the tech, and we'll try to get it fixed up, man. Sorry if you guys had any inconveniences with that. Jason Stewart said, and people really thought Gilbert would choose Mullen over Kirby. LOLOL. I don't know, man. Barry Anderson says, Avante pitched 2 gems in softball, and I think we've got Ben on the line. Ben, is that you, my friend?
Yes, right here.
Holy cow. So, guys, I don't know if you guys know this or not. Like I said, Choppy 19. Ben Bachman is on the line with us. Ben, you've built a legend over on the UGA Sports Vault where we talk about recruiting and we cover recruiting. I think, and mistake me if I'm wrong, I think this is the first time you've actually talked or been on any type of broadcast as Ben Bachman officially. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, man, how do you feel? How's it feel right now?
I mean, it feels good. I don't think there's ever been someone who's been hired as a poster to go on. I know Roddy has set me up, and that's how that all started. But I'm just ready to get to work. Yeah,
we've got Jason Stewart over here in the chat says, "Holy Choppy 19, best journalists and contributors in all of the Rivals Network." I can agree. I can't agree more, Jason. I really can't. We've got tons of comments going on between Barry and Martin talking about quarterbacks over in the comments. We'll let them keep doing their thing. Choppy, Ben, excuse me. I've got to get used to that, right? Ben.
Yeah, whatever works for you.
Okay, then fair. I might do both. Ben, we want to have you live on the show, in the coming weeks to talk about this, but this June visitor list that you have compiled over on UGASports.com is one of legends. Kirby Smart is bringing in, and we talked to Blayne about this, but Kirby Smart is bringing in everybody and their cousin and their first brothers. If they've got a Pulse and they're a 4-star or a 5-star, they're coming to Athens in June. Who are some of the big names that you're looking forward to the most stepping on campus?
I think number one, you have to start with Kojo Antwi out of Lambert High School, because right now that race is a 50-50 race behind the scenes of Georgia and Texas A&M.
Yep.
And wide receiver and outside linebacker. Well, I may get some hate on the board for this, but I think outside linebacker really is the number one need in this class because of long-term how thin that position could be after this season. But
really?
Other
okay.
than outside linebacker, wide receivers got to be right there. And Kojo, that's a 50-50 race. So that visit could determine his recruitment. So I think he's one of the guys just right out the bat the first weekend. Then there's a lot of guys, the defensive linemen. We got to see when Walter Nolan and Travis Shaw hit campus, but they're both expected on campus sometime in June.
Yeah.
So I think those guys. And then you got, I think the biggest thing that's going to be technically on campus is LT Overton, the second day of visit, because he might be the best high school player in the country. So there's a lot of guys that are going to be on there, especially that first day. And I think the one thing to watch when it comes to the visitors is the offensive linemen who get offers, because that's big. The first day of visitors, Kason Henry and Tyler Gibson and some of the O-linemen who don't have offers, if an offer comes, their decisions can ramp up pretty quickly. So that's definitely going to be one to watch.
And if you follow recruiting but you don't really follow recruiting and you see all these kids coming onto campus, Ben, I think the first question would be, how are you going to show them all this love? But the answer to that response would be, well, Kirby's got about 50 guys now in his recruiting department, it feels like, and they've been waiting on this day for 16 months. They've built a brand new facility that they haven't been able to show anybody yet, and now it finally comes down to, all right, the dead period is over from COVID. The COVID dead period is over. How are you going to be able to make sure each of these recruits get, their fair share, so to speak? And I think it boils down to just Kirby and his staff have been waiting on this for so long. This is going to be a well-oiled machine. I'm not mistaken in that, right, Ben?
Yeah, I don't think you're mistaken, but I think that the one thing that I'm interested by is some of these kids have never taken college visits.
Right.
Probably most of them. So that's the interesting thing, is do some of these kids take a visit and then just commit right away? Because they're like, wow, and really they commit right out the gate, and then the recruitment still end up continuing. So that's
right.
Something to watch, because some of these guys, they never experienced college visits, so they may think, oh, this is the best school ever because it's the first one they've been to. So that's going to be the interesting thing, especially all the 2023 recruits. Almost none of them, outside of a very select few, have been on campuses for an actual visit to the facilities to meet the coaches. So that's going to be an interesting one for me. But I think for Kirby, well, I know you brought up the new facility. I talked to Caden McDonald, the kid, defensive tackle from North Gwinnett, in the 2023 class who said one of his favorite things that he's looking forward to when he's on campus, I believe on June 5th, is the new facility. So that's something that recruits that I've talked to early on have said they're very excited to see, is that new facility. So that's something I know Kirby's itching to show off. And I think, through the years, they've had guys that they've gotten one visit and got them to commit. So I think Kirby's smart. I think him and his staff are very prepared for this, to finally get visits back. I think they'll be ready.
And, I think there's a reason too, Ben, why we've seen the Georgia football Twitter, tweet out videos of this new facility, but we haven't really seen what's in the facility. And I don't think that's not on purpose. Does that make sense? There's a reason why, and they want to be able to say, hey guys, nobody's seen the inside of this facility except for our players, our coaches, obviously, but the rest of the world, if you will, Georgia fans in general have not seen this. You guys are getting to look at it firsthand. And I think after that first week of June, us normal folks, if you will be able to see what that facility really entails. You can look at blueprints and the things of that nature, but you're not going to be able to see what really is the technology that's in there. I just think this new facility and the ability to be on campus, for the first time ever for some of these kids, it's going to make for probably one of the crazier months in recruiting we've probably ever seen. I think I'm right on the right track with that. I think it's just going to be this kid commits here, this kid commits there. They're just flying off the board because they don't know. I mean, it's a real thing, right, Ben? With the way that the COVID numbers worked out, with the seniors that came back, a lot of schools are looking at it to see how many spots they have. And I think that trickles down to a prospect, and he looks at it and says, hey, man, if I don't commit now, they've got 17 other offensive linemen coming in this week. If I want to commit here, now's the time. Is that your thoughts on this as well?
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what the NCAA does about the 25 rule, because that's something now with how the transfer portal's going to school.
Yeah.
Tennessee at 30, I think it was about 30 kids transfer out. When you only have a certain amount of counters, you can't recuperate the amount of players. So that's going to be something where I think a lot of coaches are expecting within the next year or two for that rule to be more like college basketball, where it's strictly the 85, something like that. I just think that's going to end up happening at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe not be this class or next class, but at some point it's probably going to end up happening. But I would have to agree there, because you look at certain positions, especially when it comes to Georgia, defensive line. If you had Walter Nolan, Travis Shaw, and Mike Williams, do you take 5 D linemen? If you got all 3 IMG defensive backs, do you take 6 defensive backs? It's a real question of, well, this is going to be an interesting one with numbers, because they only have – Georgia's going to have – they have half their class probably already in or close to. I think they have about 12 commitments now. So half the class is done entering visits to starting. So it's going to be really interesting for a lot of these guys. And I think the thing that's going to come down to for a few of them is going to be the camps, because if they get an offer, that's also a big thing. Some of these guys who may be targeted, who they see in person, they may realize, oh, he's not as good as we thought. So that's something to look at. It's definitely also the camp part. But my one last thing that I would really want to see some people follow with the visits, especially a guy like Mike Williams, from what I'm hearing, is that last weekend in June. I think Georgia fans and really all fans of college football have seen that last weekend in July every year, especially I think the one year it was Zach Evans, Jordan Birch, Darnell Washington, and Keely Ringo. I remember they were all there for that.
Oh
weekend.
Yeah, wasn't that picture? Wasn't it that picture, Ben, that kind of went like semi-viral from the stadium? They were all dressed in black.
Yeah, and I think Carson Beck.
Yeah,
Carson Beck was in there.
Yep.
I think they called it. I don't know if it was the barbecue or something, but I know every school last weekend in July does a big event. Seeing who they get on campus for that week, because I think that's their goal. A guy like Mike Williams, they told him to save his official visit. And I believe he wants to commit in August. Right now, I believe he has a family member's birthday that he wants to commit on. He isn't, but we'll see if he actually goes through with that. But you look at that and say, I want to see if Georgia can save some of those visits for some guys in July, or get them back on campus in July, because there's going to be a lot of guys who want to commit this summer. So when people talk about official visits, a lot of kids are taking official visits because they want to get their decision over with. So I think this summer, Georgia, most of Georgia's class, I think, is going to be done by this summer. It's going to be a lot to watch, especially June. This is going to be probably the most packed recruiting month I can remember ever, all around.
So now you're on this side of the fence, Ben. You've got your name behind your work. I know this is a question here. Do you want to dive into the Kendrick and Gilbert thing, or do you want to just leave that for where Blayne and I talked about it? Now that you have your name behind Choppy, are you wanting to get deep into that, or you just want to stay with the June visitors and we just ride out this thing into the sunset?
Well, we can go into Arik and Darian, because I think that's going to be this week. I don't know if you've told them, but I'll be on next Sunday to be on the show where Blayne and Trent usually are on. And I think this week is really where you're going to start to see things with Arik and Darian, because, I mean, if they were to enroll, first off, Tuesday, because they're in the portal, they can visit schools. And also they can enroll sometime this week. I believe they're allowed to enroll. So I think this is something where if they were to end up in Georgia, it would be this week is really to watch for them. And then when it comes to both of them, I think that they pretty much set up Georgia. And I heard you talk about it earlier. Where's the weakness? If I had to think of a weakness, if those two were on the team, it would have to be, and not in terms of talent, but in terms of the chemistry part of it and the experience, to be left tackle or the offensive line as a unit. It's definitely one of the best units, I think, by the end of the year in college football in terms of compared to all the other offensive lines. But I think when it comes to week one, you got to play maybe the best defensive line you could possibly play. Who's that left tackles, to me, is going to be the number one question if you have Arik Gilbert and Darian Kendrick on the roster. Because with Arik Gilbert, I just want to see where they line him up. Is he going to be in the slot? Is he going to be out in Georgia's role? I think he's going to play more wide receiver. But is he ever going to play tight end? Because now I know they're high on Bowers. That's what Georgia's coaches are high on Bowers. Yep. And then Darnell, obviously. And Fitzpatrick's a guy who they used a lot last year. So where do they line Arik up? That's going to be one to watch. But I know Kendrick coming in, he'll be outside a corner, and he'll add experience with Ringo and Tyke Smith and those guys. They're going to be a good unit. So I just think whoever's the left tackle, that's probably the thing that's going to determine Georgia's season, especially week one, because I think week one, you win that game, I think very strongly there's a good chance that you're in the playoffs.
There you go, folks. That's been Choppy 19. Is it Bachman, right?
Yeah.
All right, Ben Choppy 19 Bachman right there, folks. It's going to be a crazy, crazy week in recruiting. It's going to have Georgia's going to have a ton of guys visiting. There might be guys like Darian Kendrick and Gilbert making their way to Athens. Make sure to tune in to UGASports.com, whether it be the Dog Vent or the Vault, to get all of your information and stay up to date. We're going to try to pump these updates out to you guys as quickly as possible, as fast as we can. There's going to be a ton of kids on campus, but we're going to try to bring you the most coverage that we possibly can. I want to thank Ben. Thank you for coming on, man. Can't wait to have you on next week. I am going to be in Florida next week, so it'll be a little different setup, guys. Might have like a live beach background and behind me if I can get my Wi-Fi to work on the beach. If not, it'll be in some weird room inside the Airbnb. But we'll have Ben Choppy Bachman with us, and we'll just discuss what will be a crazy week, not just here at the University of Georgia in Athens, all over, because the dead period is over now, folks. Kids are getting on campus, and we're going to really start seeing recruiting pick up in a way that we've never seen before. So make sure, if you're not already, hit that like button on this video. We want to try to beat, as always, Roddy and the Cruise Tuesday podcast reviews. So if you can, make sure to hit that like button for us, guys. And thank you so much for tuning in. I want to shout out some guys. Barry Anderson, Martin Arenado. We're having to talk about the quarterback behind JT for the last 15 minutes over in the chat, and I love to see it. Sorry I couldn't get in on it with you guys because it seems like you guys were going back and forth. And before I go, guys, if you could, please hit a like on this video. Share it to a couple of your friends. I'm trying to beat Roddy and his crew, the Tuesday podcast with Jim Donnan. They've got Jim Donnan on that podcast. I'm trying to beat their views. So, guys, we appreciate it so much. Blayne Gilmer, appreciate having him on the show. Dave McMahon, as always, and Ben Bachman joining us. Guys, it's been a crazy show. We got up to 100 concurrent viewers, and I can't say any more than thank you guys so much. We'll be on next Sunday. Hopefully, I'll have a drink in my hand with a live beach background behind me, and we'll just go from there. Guys, again, thank you so much, and be safe. Have a great week.